I'd like to welcome you to the show, Introduce you to me, Like what you see, baby, like what you see. I would like to welcome you to the show, Introduce you to me, Give me something to talk about, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. You're looking so nice. Hey, we shining bright. I would like to sing for you a couple songs that I wrote, but let me clear my throat so I could give you something different than I did last time. I would like to propose a toast. Salute. May all you hold dear and close. Do right and keep you smiling for the rest of your life. So welcome you to the show. Introduce to me.
What up, everybody? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rand and Tone Show. And welcome to the room, TRT. I am the whole big Rand, along with my homeboy Tony Tone is in the house.
Another week. Woody woo, y'all.
What's happening, everybody? What's happening, man? I'm glad everybody, for all the people who are following us from Facebook who jumped over, we on YouTube now. It's going to take a minute, but we still going to be broadcasting. We still going live. We still doing the Thursday nights. We just on the YouTube channel now. Shout out to Molly. Molly's having a you know, I had to get that out. Yeah. I wanted to get that out there on the east 174th Street. That's in the Bronx, New York. Saturday. What Saturday's date?
You know where it's at.
I don't know Saturday's date. What is Saturday's date?
Saturday would be the 13th.
Saturday is the 13th. Come on, join Molly
Not
out.
Friday the 13th, but Saturday the 13th.
Saturday the 13th, Molly will be out there live. Him and the Bistro Burgers.
Believe in that kind of thing.
What?
For those of you who believe in that kind of thing.
I understand that.
You do?
I understand it cold-heartedly.
Okay, I don't.
For those of you who believe in the superstitious of the superstitious, that's what it is.
You said the superstitious?
Superstitious.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who believe in the superstitious of the superstitious, that's what it is.
That'll do something.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the title of tonight's show. The one drop rule. Yo, I'm about to bring everybody to a task because a lot of people don't know what the one drop rule is. A lot of people be like, yo, what is the one drop rule? So basically, before I read exactly what it is, let me just give you a rundown what the one drop rule is. One drop rule. One drop rule basically says that
you're black.
And yeah, basically. I was trying to get it out, but he just jumped all up in the and just told you what I wanted to tell you.
Okay,
so let me just read it, what the one drop rule is.
Some people got to get up in the morning.
Some people got to get up in the morning. The one drop rule is a legal principle of racial classification that was prominent in the 20th century United States and asserted any person with even one ancestor of black ancestry, one drop of black blood, is considered black, Negro, or historical terms. It is an example of a hypo descent, the automatic assignment of children of mixed union between different social matics or ethnic groups up to the group with the lower status, regardless of ancestry in different groups. Which means, people, and I know this right here hurts some people too, man, because the one drop rule is crazy. Basically, what they're telling us in the one drop rule, that you go out and have an ancestry test, right? Mm-hmm. And your ancestors come back that you have 1% of blood in your body that is Afro-American, you are considered black.
And we are to take this to be factual, right?
Factual.
Okay, what makes it factual?
Because the law.
Because it's a law, it makes it
fact. Makes it factual.
Nah.
Yes, it did. They signed it into law.
I'm not saying it's not a law. I'm saying just because it's a law doesn't make it fact. What makes
it said
it
the concept became codified. I don't know what that means. Codified, whatever that means, into law of some of the U.S. states in the early 20th centuries. It was associated with the principle of invisible blackness that developed after the long history of racial interaction in the South. which had included the hardening of slavery as a racial caste system and later segregation. So basically, they used this one drop rule to get rid of new slaves and things like that. The one drop rule. I didn't plug my computer up.
And what scientists or Scientology that they came with?
It's scientific. What do you mean?
I'm just asking. Explain it to the people. We've read it.
Explain what? Because my thing is why I brung it up is because they're telling you that you have to be tested in order to find out if you're black, but there was no DNA back then. So how did they test anyone to see?
I'm talking about.
Hold on, I gotta plug up my computer. I might go out. You go ahead. I'm listening. I'm gonna answer on the fly. Go ahead.
The way you tell me, hold up.
But then go ahead with your story. Man. What you saying?
What makes it factual? That's all I'm saying. With the breakdown of what's just because something is written makes it fact.
Well,
you can't see that because there's so many books that that talk about the truth of history, and we find out it's their story instead of ours.
Okay, but the point is that they're telling you that 1%.
There you go again, talking about what they're telling you. I don't want to listen to I want to see scientific results. I came up with the same thing you read, but as we know, everything we read ain't fact. Ask myself. I didn't do the scientific test on blood and separation and divide. Oh, so you don't know. So you based on what you read.
What I read is that it takes 1% to be considered black. What I don't understand is how can you tell somebody that in the early 20th century where there was no DNA testing? So what did you go by? Did you go by the
isn't that the same thing that I'm asking you?
I'm asking you is what did you go by? Because you're asking me if it's true or not. That's what you're asking me.
No, I said what makes it fact. Where's the proof behind it?
That you asked me if it's true. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it's true. I brought it up because I find it weird that there's always some type of black law coming into existence when something is about to occur. What I don't understand is how in the hell did you get to know if who was mixed and not mixed back in the early century? Hey, I'm back, people back on the screen and on the scene. Level boy Fat is here. So I'm back on the scene. How did you know? How did you know? What makes this? Because they signed it into a law. Why would you sign the law if it wasn't actual factual?
Believe in what they say.
Okay, so let's say I'm
just asking a question.
Before and during the centuries of slavery, people had interracial relationships, most of which were most likely consensual. Before the American Civil War, free individuals of mixed race, free people of color were considered legal, while if they had less than either 1/8 or 1/4 African ancestry. You see what I'm trying to say? So how did you know back then if did you judge them by the texture of their hair? Did you judge them by the color of their skin? How did you know who was who?
I believe it was all those factors. It
would
have to be.
All those factors into one?
Yeah. There wasn't too much middle line back then.
What do you mean?
You was either black or which meant you was really dark, or you was either
right.
So if you was in between, they would consider you as being mixed.
Right,
or try to look at your parents.
But they considered you to be black though. They told you 1%. So if you look 1% black in that time,
you're black.
You were black.
You were not white.
Okay, so here goes something that's crazy. Based on the late 20th century DNA analysts and preponderance of historical evidence, U.S. President Thomas Jefferson is widely believed to have fathered the 6 mixed race children with the slaves Sally Hemings. So we all knew that Jefferson was a slave owner and that he had children. Now, could this have been the reason why they decided to say, hey, we don't want to, because of Thomas Jefferson, is the reason why they might have brought this about?
Let us not be confused by terminology. At present, the actual statement of the one-drop rule is a term of black blood or black ancestry. which not so long ago is referred to as the Negro blood or ancestry.
Wow.
The term black rapidly replaced Negro in general usage in the United States as the Black Power movement peaked at the end of the 1960s. But the Black and Negro population are the same. The term Black
Wow,
is
man.
used in this book for person with any Black African lineage, not just unmixed members of population for sub-Saharan Africa.
What does that mean, though? That's the thing that's baffling me right now. What does that mean?
You
It
mean what?
says both before and after the Civil War, many people of mixed ancestry who look white and were more mostly white ancestry were legally absorbed into the white majority. State laws established different standards. For instance, in 1822, Virginia law stated that to be defined as a mulatto. What is
Mulatto. Oh, I was about. We're looking at the same
thing?
stuff, but in different articles. I'm gonna take
Mhm.
it from there today. We must also pay attention to the term mulatto
Mm.
and colored.
Mm.
The term mulatto was originally used to mean the offset of a pure African Negro
Mm.
and a pure white.
Pure African.
Although the
Negro.
roots meaning of mulatto in Spanish is hybrid, mulatto came to include the children and unions between white and so-called mixed Negroes.
That's what I got too. It says mulatto is a racial classification to refer to people of mixed African and European ancestry. It is used to but nigga never goes outdated.
No, niggas that been outdated.
Nigga
It's been a disrespectful word.
We should have
But
pulled the table back a little
nigga is not generalized to nigga with the word nigga, I should say,
right,
is only generalized towards blacks.
right.
But most of us know that a nigga has no color. In other words, a nigga could be of any origin.
The word nigga is offensive in certain situations. What I'm trying to say is when it's okay to use it when fighting a terminology, but it's not okay to use it when in a conversation.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right. But it also goes back to describe the way of our mentality, the way we were, how we were, what we did, how we did it. That's a terminology that we all use. And I think we all need to
we all use what terminology?
The word nigga. Once in a while, somebody will say, even if you're not a person who uses it regular in your vocab, it's still used.
Yeah.
Because I can't see you're getting rid of one word but not getting rid of the other word.
What's the other word?
Well, you got rid of mulatto. And it did say they got rid of it because it was offensive. But the word nigga and the terminology it's not offensive at all.
No, it actually is offensive, and it's only used to be directed offensively.
See, this is a funny law. This is a law that was passed that no one's fighting to erase. I don't get that.
You mean the one drop rule? Why would that be something to erase?
Why wouldn't you erase it?
What's the opposition to it?
I don't know.
So why would it be erased? I guess nobody has a problem with it.
The whole thing is the one drop. You don't know nobody has a problem with it because no one you really use it. You never really heard that before. Have you ever heard that before? Have you ever heard of the one drop rule before? No,
not really.
Until we got into doing what we was doing and we read about it, and I came across it.
If it's something factual, how is it something that would be abolished or gotten rid of?
You just said it. That's true. Okay, I'm going to give you that. But what I'm trying to get by is if it is factual and it is a law, not a rule, it's a law.
It could be a law and still not be factual. I'm just saying. I was only saying that to push a question that would come from somebody listening. What makes it fact?
Yeah, but why would you put something out or keep it as a law or rule if you know it wasn't true? It's telling you that this thing has been practiced. It's even telling you that it's being practiced now. It's just that people don't use it.
Okay, so you want me to give you an example of something that's been talked about forever and is not true?
Yeah.
Let's go to religion when they put a white Jesus up on the wall and
knowing that in the Bible it says his
exactly.
Hair was,
so that's
his hair was a certain
okay. So it's things that's been out.
What I'm trying to get at is this: if this is actual factual, and you're sitting there and you're telling people that there's a rule called the one drop rule, what does that say about a lot of white minorities? Because they are white minorities.
Okay.
Does that tell the white minorities that they might be
mixed with black, or they might be black?
Right.
But in this era right now, that wouldn't be something that would be, unless you're part of the white Aryan nation and you told one of them that, because that's one of the things that they fight against as far as their purity of being.
It says individuals an average of 0.7% black ancestry, which is equivalent to having one black and 127 white ancestors among 128 5 times great grandparents. So they're telling you that they made this rule, but they're telling you it's likely that it can happen to you. But that 1%.
What do you mean happen to you?
Because they're telling you that it's one black out of 127 27 whites who can this possibly happen to. But if it does happen to you, your family is going to be considered black. 70% of white America have no African ancestors, in part because of a high proportion of current whites are descents from more recent immigrants from Europe of the late 1900s, 19th and early 20th centuries, rather than those immigrants of colonies. And I can understand that. I can understand how far you have to go back now, because the more they migrated towards Europe, the less black people, I guess, were involved in the actual. But does that mean that you had to have two pigmentations? So in other words, like did they have like how we have albinos today?
Mm-hmm.
Did they have those too? Because in the Bible they do discuss somewhat of albinos. Somewhat of, remember that some of the angels were had some.
But albinos is not a race, though. It's not a.
No, but it is. It's the skin pigmentation.
Right.
Right. So what I'm saying to you, can they be mistaken as being black or white? You never. I've never seen. The only person I've ever seen with that type of skin disorder
would be somebody of the color of color.
Yeah.
Right. So how would a pure white person be albino?
I don't know, but if it does it exist?
You gotta Google it.
I thought you saw something.
No, I was looking at the computer. When people ask a question, you gotta Google it.
White albinos? Let me see.
I'm sure it's a thing.
Wow, that's tight right there. Let me see.
Or are they 100% white, or are they mixed, which gives them that lack of pigmentation? Because you have to have it to lose it, right?
How they do exist. It doesn't say. See, they don't even call it albino. They call it ableism. Okay, well, let's look that up.
Okay, what is ableism?
Same thing. Sorry. Okay, hold on. What? What was that? It says, but to see it. Okay, I get it. Ableism is the congenital absence of melanin in an animal, plant, or person, resulting in white hair, feathers, scales, and skin, pink eyes. Individuals with this condition are referred to as albino, but they don't tell you if they're black or white as I'm reading.
But
just
in the
tell you-
beginning, it said something of
Mhm.
missing of what does it say in the beginning?
Of which article?
The one you just read.
Right
The
here?
half you just read.
Uh,
At the beginning of what you
Ableism is the congenital
Mhm.
absence of
absence
melanin
of melanin.
in
Right.
an animal, plant, or person. I didn't even know plant had melanin in it.
But do white people have melanin?
It has to be if this is white. That's what I'm looking up.
Are they saying they're white?
According to what I'm reading right here, they're saying that the white albino, they're showing you the images of white albino.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it right now, so they do exist. They do have the segmentation as if their skin was black.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. Are these occasions, or they calling?
I don't know because it doesn't say. I don't know. It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't tell me that. I'm looking. It doesn't tell me that. Same way I'm looking, you can look too. It's like you tell me, well, anybody who has a question should use the encyclopedia.
I'm gonna ask a question within you what you're reading.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you what they're giving me. It says
You accepting what they give
albinos origins of the white race. That's what it says. So there must be some of black race, white race, Asian race. Thousands of Africans give birth to albino Charlie Chair, white skin and former ableism, white skin and so they must be black then. Because see, this is confusing. That's a good question. If you're albino, but they have albino people who are white. So, but are you considered black or white?
You said they're white, so you answered.
Well, when you look at it and you put in white ableism, they show you pictures, and they don't look like they're colored. Do they look like they're from color?
They look like they're white people.
They look like they're white.
But
Caucasian.
they're just whiter.
They look like they're Caucasian.
That sounds better.
Right. They look like they're Caucasian.
That are whiter.
That are lighter. The same disease. But if I don't know. I don't know what actual color they would how would you list and it doesn't say how you would list an albino. Oh, so they got some Bibles from the verses. Here goes some Bible. Exodus 4, chapter 7.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read something right here.
Don't read something.
It said, God shows Moses miracles so he can prove to the children of Israel that he sent him. Moses is told to put his hand into his bosom, and when he takes it back out, it's less white as snow. I see why they. So in other words, when Moses touched his chest, I guess he let them know that his skin could be, because it says he take it back out and it is leprous white as snow. So I don't know. Leviticus chapter 29 and 37. If a man or woman has a plague on the head or the herd, what? Then the priest shall be the plague. Behold, it is being the sight. I can't read the Bible. That's a little crazy. It says, verse 29 says, if a man or woman has plague upon the head or the beard,
mm-hmm.
then the priest shall be the plague. And behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be it yellow than hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. If it is a dry scale, even a leprosy upon the head of her. What if it's albino? They keep saying ableism might be a form of leprosy. That's the way the Bible looks at it. But if the scale spreads much in the skin after his cleansing,
as you said, it must be fat.
I don't know.
Okay, then.
Then the priest shall look on him, and behold, shall scale be the spread in the skin. The priest shall not seek your yellow hair. He is unclean. That is weird. But if the scale in the sight of the stay, and there is a black hair grown up therein, the scale is healed. the scale is healed, he is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Oh, so see what it says in the Bible, white skin was considered leprous.
If you was
A plague
albino,
and unclean. The leprous people were thrown out and forced to live in colonies with other lepers away from other people.
so is it saying they looked at albinos as leopard,
As leprosy.
as a sickness or
Right.
Okay.
There are many different things
And they was
surrounding the
cast
origin
out.
of white people, but does this have further support that white people? I'm only reading what I'm reading. People is written right here that white people, a group of white people, are a fixed albino race. Wow, I never even thought about it like that. Oh, what if that started because of pigment? So they're saying Caucasian started because of the pigmentation of someone's skin. So they weren't born that way. They were outcast to a certain part because they thought they had mercy. Because they had albinism. They had albinism. Now they're not considered black or white. They're considered a whole nother group, but in a whole nother ethnic background.
Yeah, because it was cast out, so they wind up, I guess, forming their own tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you alienate or separate from your family? Because I'm sure you had family members that was normal. Yeah, well, I guess you was like the ugly duckling of the family.
I had to be more than that.
I'm just saying, for you to be cast out.
That's some serious. So you know, I have this whole thing all backwards about race and color and like that. I think people might have this a little backwards, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to tell everybody. I think you really, if you pay attention to what I just read in the Bible, and I'm pretty sure if you should read it again. Let me make sure I have the right. I should go back and read Leviticus 37. I think you should read that. That's very interesting. It definitely goes on to explain the origins of white people. Now, I'm not saying that this is how white people occur. They're just telling you that it could be a possibility that white people who were mistaken for leprosy might have had I bet might have been albinos.
Albinoism.
Mm-hmm.
Albinism,
whatever you call it. Yes, I don't want to say whatever you call it.
But see, it also lists that there are 4 types of ambonism, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Wow. So hold on. There's a. Let me read something here.
Mm-hmm.
It says the one drop rule and its constituents have been the subject of numerous works of popular culture. The American musical Showboat 1927 opens in 1887 on the Mississippi Riverboat after the Reconstruction era and imposition of racial segregation in Jim Crow in the South. A white man married to a mixed race woman who passes as white is pursued by a Southern sheriff. He intends to arrest and charge him with segregation.
You lost me there.
Misgeneration. What? For being married to a woman of partly black ancestry. Wait, let me read that. I'm not pronouncing the word that, but can't even pronounce it right. It's Miss Senate. I guess is Miss Senate Miss Message Nation or something like that. Anyway, it's the interbreeding of people who are considered members of different races. The word now usually considered pre-active. What? I can't read shit without my glasses. Pre-active is derived from a combination of the Latin terms Messiah. I don't know. I'm mixed up here. I'm definitely going to do a show on this word. Missegregation. You know what this word is?
You should try to read these 4 types of they got it's not 4. What are the types of ambonism? Albinism.
Albinism.
I can't pronounce these.
Mm.
It's oculocutaneous
Mm.
embolism. Then it's ocular embolism, Hermansky Pudlar syndrome.
The hell is that?
It's all different types.
Mm.
I think it's different. I think it might be based on the shade difference. Some of them might be deeper than others. It also goes in to say how their skin is very sensitive to the sun exposure, and that is one of the most serious complications associated with albinism.
But what if this is what I'm trying to tell you is now
Mm-hmm.
we done went into the one drop rule and we done got this far. What if this is how white people were produced to the world?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because it says it says ableism and whiteness, the origin of the Caucasian. The origin of the Caucasian basically means that this might be the possibility where the Caucasian race started. Because
instead of being in the Caucasian mountains.
Yeah, that it might be the fact that because they had, and remember, even the Bible said that albinos were there back then. It also says in the Bible that the angels were like some of the angels who came to earth like that too. Some of the stories that I have read.
Okay.
So I'm saying that what if you have two albinos who got together and had a child? Would the child be black or would the child be white? It varies.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
They would the albino people or the individual that you talk about it.
Yes.
They were something before there was albino. I mean, they would have been black or white before that. It ain't like two random is just gonna make a different species.
According to what I'm reading here, it says albinism is a rare, non-contagious, genetically inherited condition occurring in both genders, regardless of ethnicity. In all countries of the world, both our father and mother must carry the gene for it to be passed, or even if they do not have albinism themselves. It's a lack of pigmentation, but my thing is, the thing is, it's a lack of pigmentation when you're exposed to. So the pigmentation that occurs in the hair, occurs in the skin, occurs in the eyes, causing you to I guess you can't be out in the sun all the time.
Sensitivity to light,
right? And things like that. So my thing is when you have these people and they out there sun tanning, Caucasians, and they get that sunburn, is that their albinism coming out?
No, that just means they don't have the
melanin
to prevent the sun's rays, the exposure. Their skin would be more sensitive than someone with more melanin in their system or in their DNA. I would think.
See, they keep going back as albinos originating from Africa and Europe. They keep going back to that. They keep saying that in certain parts of regions in Central, Eastern, and Southern Africa, albinos face from bias. Some of these cultures believe that albinos do not die. They translate to ancestral worlds. See, and in the Bible, they describe them like that too. So I don't know. They were angels. They were familiar about albinos, but
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm gonna try to look it up now.
I'm familiar with angels and albinos.
Yeah, there was some.
Okay. Albinism is a rare genetic condition caused by mutation of certain genes that affect the amount of melanin your body produces. Did that help you a little bit?
No.
No? Okay. Help me a lot.
How did it help me?
Melanin controls the pigmentation, color of your skin, eyes, and hair. People with albinism, and I can never say it out, albinism, have extremely pale skin, eyes, and hair, which you already defined.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing over there, Fred?
Trying to see if I was right about my Bibles.
Right about your Bibles.
Mm-hmm.
Plural.
Bible. Sorry. I was trying to look up the albinos in the Bible. So, wow, ain't this something? There was an albino in the Bible. The most famous person to be in the albino was Esau. Wow, I didn't know that. Esau was is in the Bible. Edomites are white and descended from an albino named Esau, who was born ruddy or red and hairy. Wow, the Bible refers to white skin as leprosy, and the reports that race of people.
I believe because they didn't understand it.
That's why they. But it's telling you that this. But for what the if somebody says that the origin of white people might have started from Esau and the albino, because he was albino. The Edomites are whites that descended from an albino named Esau. In other words, Esau had a generation where his line, because of his condition, came out white because he had no melanin in skin.
Did his kids come out the same way?
It said his generation
was all albino.
It says in the Bible, Edomites are whites that descended from an albino named Esau.
Okay, they said there's whites that descended, correct?
Yeah, descended means bloodline.
Right, but it didn't say that they was all albinos.
It does so.
What did it say? Read it again. It says
in the Bible, Edomites are whites that descended from...
Are whites.
Right, from an
So that's
albino.
a race of people.
What I'm telling you, did he start the origin of people by being an albino? Did he start a new race? And we call it Caucasian today.
I'm going by what you just read.
And I just read that.
It's no.
In the Bible, Edomites are whites that
Edomites is a white race of people.
That were sent from an albino
named from an albino.
That's what I'm trying to
didn't say they was all albino.
What I'm trying to tell you is that did this ethnic group within the Caucasian world albinos were didn't have melanin, they couldn't produce the pigmentation in their what's name? That's what I'm asking.
I know, but what was the group again? The
Edomites.
It didn't say Edomites were albinos. That's what it didn't say in my ears. That's not what it said.
It says, and the reports that a race of people, the Gagazites, were born white,
right,
due to being cursed. Bible scholars credit whatever some know as fathering a black people who settled in the north. People, we're gonna have to get a good story at the Bible. Ultimately becoming the Caucasian race. You know what I'm saying? It was people who settled in the north, but it was Noah, a son of Noah, as fathering a black people who settled in the north, ultimately becoming the Caucasian race. Simply, other scholars theorize that Africans who migrated to Europe and were caught in the Ice Age gradually lightened until their genes mutated to adapt the scant sunlight, thus producing a race of whites. I don't believe that. I believe what they did was they outcast the albinos. And because they outcast the albinos, because remember they thought they had leprosy, that the albino might have got together and had, because nobody had melanin in their system, I believe they got together and formed the Caucasian race. That's what I believe. And they always got them running up into the mountains and shit. Like, I don't know where these people be getting some of these stories. I don't know if they descended into the mountains of Europe or whatever. Because they're trying to say Africans migrated to Europe, but Africans were migrating in Europe way before slavery. So I don't get that. Africans were migrating around the world way before scholars or anybody were even writing it. So I don't know. So that means albinos could be anywhere around the world. And they're telling you that the albino is an original origin of the public. That's the reason why his albino, because his, I guess, every 20 people who were born in Africa at the leprosy type shit we now call albinism.
Right. That's identified rare generic condition.
I understand. I said 120. Okay. So it's rare. It's rare. It happens, but then you guys said for those who that it did happen in the biblical, they were outcasts. Now I can understand what the one drop rule means. So now we go back to the one drop rule, and they're telling you if you have 1%, 1% can lead all to find into the times albino. You don't know what you can find in your family right now. In the day. One drop rule. I don't know that. I use Bing. He said I use Bing. One drop rule. Yeah, it's gonna catch on. I'm telling you, this show gonna catch on to a lot of people gonna realize what we be talking about. It's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's actual factual that your government and your country is putting out that's in the rule book that they try to erase, that a lot of people don't read about, they don't think about.
But this has been out for years though. It's been out forever.
Yeah, but the point is nobody talks about it. Nobody knows that.
Oh, nobody. No, people do know it. Some people do know it, but they're not going to talk about it. And I think the ones that know most is white people. And I think white supremacy know it because yeah. They always pushing the purity of the white man and how you're not, if your mother and father is not white, and their grandmother, grandfather, great grandmother from the beginning, you're not part of the pure white race.
It's a known fact. I know it's a known fact. A lot of people tell you, yeah, it's true. But what if we are definitely that race?
Most people, or you just saying
just in general? What if race in general? Out of fear, it might be the order of man to know, because everything we talk about is two countries, Africa and Europe, nothing else. There's nothing else being biblical.
It's been said throughout scripture that now something me to believe how blacks migrated north and their skin had to adjust to the conditions,
right? And
they became the white race.
That
there didn't
suit you,
didn't swallow well with me. But that's not to say it's not fact. I just don't believe it based on what I've been taught.
To be honest with you, after doing a lot of our research and the things that we started to do and in the program, I'm starting to see there might be a lot of nonsense truth in a lot of things.
Of course.
Why
come out now? You just acknowledged it now. Things been out.
Why people don't talk about
it? They don't talk about. That's like people like talking about politics. Don't like to talk about religion because it can cause conflict based on what your beliefs are. All the time. You get a crowd of people talking about religion or talk about race or talk about politics, there's going to be a fight going to start because somebody's going to disagree with the way they was raised, what they believe. There's certain sets in religion. You still push God, still going to hell.
Wait till I get my hands on the Black Laws, the book out that has it's like encyclopedia, a book of Black laws that were laws made just for Black people.
I heard of that.
It wasn't made for. Let me get my hand on that, and that's going to be something I'm going to talk about for a long time, man.
Oh, you're gonna be talking about getting your hands on the book for a long time.
Yeah, because I believe that's a part of a lot of, as you sit there, you read, and I read the Bible from time to time, but to know that Esau was an albino, that kind of shocked me right there. To let me know, well, where did he come from? Who was his parents? So if he was considered to be albino, which they considered to be leprosy back then, who was his parents? Was his parents? Was Esau's parents? Was it part of one drop rule? Like what's going on? And then my whole thing, like, let's get back. We went back to the beginning before we wrap it up. We went in and we said, and we talked about how could you determine who was what color back then? Because you didn't have no DNA, because it goes back to the 19th to the 20th century. So we didn't have DNA that long. DNA is still fairly brand new to the world.
The race was not it wasn't as many races. Get a way to say it, but back then it was basically, what we read was basically black. Okay, so it wasn't pure white and he was part black. That's it.
I don't know.
Okay, so what else comes up in the beginning passages of time when talking about race and different creeds and colors and things like that?
Nothing but black and white.
Exactly. And if you wasn't white, that means your mama had black somewhere, or your father was, your mother had to be black.
It was mixed. Yeah. In this case, whose genes are stronger? Is it the man or the woman?
I don't know. But I did find one thing before we close, is that we talk about a albino woman and a albino man having a baby. Right. That would be the way that they can produce an albino child based on what I just read.
But is the child considered it's albino? Is that coming from two
albino parents? Types of OCA. You got to look up what an OCA. Albinism is passed on a autosomal receptive inheritance pattern. This means a child has to get 2 copies of the gene that causes albinism. But one from each parent.
But if you look at it, that's what happened in biblical days. If you were outcast in biblical days because they thought leprosy was,
so those would be the only ones you could interact with.
So you had to, those 2 people. If you produce it, you're going to produce Caucasian people.
A child that's missing that
Mendelian. So there you go. There you go with the Caucasians right there. Because
I don't. Wait.
Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is there's a line, because you could be black and be albino and have albinism.
Right. I didn't say you couldn't.
Right. So why would it start a white race if you're black?
Because you don't have no melanin. So if you get, see what it says
you're
to
still
you.
Black, whether you got melanin.
No, it doesn't. No, it didn't. It said to you.
No, I didn't say what it said. I said if you're black and you're albino, you're still black. It doesn't make you white.
No, technically, you technically you might not have no color, no ethnic group, no nothing, because you have no melanin. You don't have no type of pigmentation whatsoever. So
let me change that. You're not black. You're African American. If you're born, born, wait a minute.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
If you're born African American,
right,
but you just have to be albino, so you're trying to tell me the child's not African American no more because they have pigmented skin is changed?
Yes, because at this
serious?
Point, yes.
Nah.
Just because what makes
so the one drop rule affect them, because drop rule you can still have an albino child. So
that's what I just said, and you just kept coming up with what's the fact? But you got the fact.
No.
I'm trying to explain to you that if they had this one drop rule back then, and albinism exists back then, or people with albino exist back then, how could you determine? How could you determine or even make a rule like the one drop rule to say, yo, this is what happened? How can you determine that? But it's telling you that if two people with albinism were to have children, it's going to come out as a Caucasian child.
No, it didn't say that.
What did it say?
It said it come out with an albinism child.
Well, that's
it didn't say
it didn't say black or white.
Right.
Okay, so then you keep saying that they're black. No, they're not.
I didn't say they were black. I said, but if two black people, dark as dirt, had a child and it came out with albinism, that doesn't make the child white. That's what I said.
It doesn't make him black either.
How is he not black?
Just because he has black parents doesn't make him black. He's a whole nother ethnic.
Okay, just because his skin color is different doesn't make him not black. Okay, I'm wrong. Doesn't make him African American.
I use being that they say they gotta still be black.
That's what I'm saying.
No, they don't. If you're a child, that I want to call it disease. Black. It makes your ancestry line black. It doesn't make you black.
They wouldn't find no weight in you.
But my whole thing is that they're not going to find no color in you.
They're not going to find color, but they're going to find that you're African American though, because the rest of your genes and DNA is going to say you're African American. But what you missing the pigmentation doesn't change who you are.
But how can they do your genes if you don't have no pigmentation? What genes and what DNA are you?
You still have genes because you're created. You're created by your genes. Just because you're missing one doesn't make you lack of the
all that's going to do. A person who has an albino, all they're going to do is going to be to determine who his parents are. That's it. That's all they're going to be.
When he fill out the application, he's going to put down he's African American. He's not going to put down he's white, but he's born with black parents.
I disagree.
Okay. That's a survey for the people. I wish people could listen in and give a comment based on that.
Rel, what's happening, man? You finally caught up to us?
No, Rel should have been. Ask Rel before we go.
Yeah, I'm just trying to tell you, if a person who
you want me to explain to him?
Go ahead, explain to him. Go ahead.
Rel Pops is saying a man born with a black mother and a black father, but he has albinism, which is the pigment loss to make you albino. I'm not saying it right, but it's you have loss of your pigmentation, so it makes you albino. But you're saying they're not black. He's not the baby wouldn't be black.
The baby
baby wouldn't be African American. Let me stop saying black.
When you even though an original albino person comes from the origin of
what is an original albino person?
A person who's originally born from an African American who has the pigmentation skin.
Okay.
He is the original. He would be the original albinism, because even back then in the days of biblical time, they were considered to have leprosy. They didn't know what it was. So
exactly. That's why they was considered that.
Okay, but that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
And it also tells you that when they're able to produce or get together, the child doesn't come black. It comes with
the baby is still African American.
It's not.
You lost it. You better talk to Rel.
He says it. I use black no matter the skin color. Okay.
Thank you. That wasn't on the
no, because he.
Come on now. Come on. How you not gonna have genes? Without genes, you're not create. You're not.
No.
You don't exist.
Two albinos can't make a dark skinned child. No. It clearly said that two albinos are going to make an albinism child. It does say that.
It says this means a child has to get 2 copies of the gene.
I didn't say that it changed your ancestors or anything. I said to him that if you was to go test him, you wouldn't find anything.
You would find that he's African American.
The only way that you can prove that is because his DNA will show that he's born of an African American woman, but it won't show on him. That's what I'm trying to explain.
It will show on him. It will show that he's African American.
It'll show that his DNA came from this woman. That is all.
It will show that
he has no pigmentation, man.
He doesn't have color. Doesn't mean he doesn't have African.
I never took away his DNA. You keep saying that, and I said all.
No, you are taking away his DNA.
I'm telling you, his
without DNA is African American.
Without pigmentation, he has no color. So you can't put him in no ethnic group. The only reason why you put him in the ethnic group because you know his DNA says he was born from his black woman.
You ask him, he'll say I'm African American. I just lost my pigmentation because I have embolism. That's it.
But that's my point. You're only going to be able to judge who he comes from because of his DNA. Period.
Right.
After that, you can't tell if he's black or white. Okay. Only because if you can trace his DNA line, his mother's line, his mother turns out to be black and his father's white, as y'all say, one black parent, he's considered black. Okay, so here we have a black parent and he has a Caucasian father, but he turned out to be
mixed.
Right. So in this case, he's not considered black or white because now he has the
he's considered both. He's considered black and white.
His DNA is. DNA is.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, his DNA.
If that's what you want to go with.
Listen, they're trying to tell you that the one drop rule consists in the 19th and the 20th century. That if you had 1% blood, you were considered black. How? When there wasn't even no way to do the DNA back then. And this is what I'm trying to say. How can you write that as a rule, law, or anything else when you had no way to test the DNA back in the time of slavery, which you went by looks? So that means to tell me, even though you had a person who had ableism, they said, oh, well, he looked white, but because his hair was of wool or his eyebrows were thick, they considered him black. But then they tell you that they shoved them off into a whole nother society and they made up the Caucasian race. They just told you that.
And I'm believing everything they told me?
I'm not telling you that I believe. What they just telling you is that two people who have ableism cannot make a dark-skinned child. So that means he's not considered black or white because his pigmentation doesn't prove, but his DNA says he is. Right?
No, I'm not agreeing with that.
Okay.
I'm not agreeing with that.
Okay.
You trying to tell me two black people have an albino child, the albino child is not black or not African American?
So somewhere along the line, if two African people had an albino child, right?
Go ahead.
And down the line, the child, he ends up marrying somebody else who also has albinism.
Okay.
And they have a child. Is there any process or any thought back down in the future of that line that they're
gonna turn back dark skin?
Right.
I don't know. That would have to be the breakdown of the gene and how much melanin can be created throughout the chains of relationships. That's the only way I could see it. But if they continue just to be albino on albino, it's probably unlikely.
I think everybody should really pay attention to the one drop rule. I think you should really go back and really think about and really read about, because we're going to be bringing you a lot of black history that people don't really pay attention to. And I think it's a scary situation.
I don't think it's scary.
I think it is, because I think we need to know our laws. I think we need to know our rules. I think we need to know what was written before it was said. We don't know a lot of that stuff. I think we should know it before while it's written before, because we don't know everything. We don't know everything. We don't have everything secured, and this is the time to learn. This is the time to learn. So I don't know.
It's always a time to learn. It's never a time to quit. I thank y'all for listening.
All the time, man.
Y'all help me.
On behalf of the Rand and Tone Show, we want to tell everybody thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. Hopefully, you continue to join us on YouTube. Until we see you again.
Peace and love always, and wash your hands, people.
Thursday nights, people.
The fight is not over.
Amen. Night, y'all.
No, I'm not perfect. No, I made my mistakes. mistakes and all, but all I want is love unconditional. Love unconditional. I don't deserve it, no, but it would be worth it all. All I want is love unconditional. Love unconditional.
I was always thinking about ways to do better, so focused on making cheddar so we could live forever in a better spot, better place. Things moving right today. All I wanna do is make you smile in the best of ways. We done been through a whole lot, but we here, baby. No ifs and buts and no maybes. You done gave me some boys, I done made some noise, but I bought us some toys, so we live and enjoy. And I was always about what you can have and what you want, girl. I make sure it's warm in this whole world. When your friends say friends say that she don't like how I keep buying you things, what's wrong with her? She need to change the way she living, how she giving the love that she giving. What's wrong with them? They mad cause the family matching when we hopped up out of the wagon.
I'm not perfect, no. Made my mistakes and no, but all I want is love unconditional. Love unconditional.